What's up, wrestling fans? Two Bros Wrestling Show coming at you through the power of magic wrestling, wrestling magic. What did I say? What have I been saying? I don't know. Anyway, what's up, Kevin?
I just want to say happy birthday, America. Everybody having a good long weekend. I mean, it is the 4th of July weekend. We hope that you have had a great one with family and friends and appreciate you ending that weekend by watching the Two Bros Wrestling Show. Sometimes, Doug, we take a break during the holidays, but we can't miss this week because next weekend is a jam-packed wrestling weekend, and in order to get everyone ready for all that action, that is our main event topic tonight. We are previewing All in Texas, the largest, most important domestic show in AEW's brief history. So it's kind of a big one, and we could not take the weekend off and not get the folks ready for that one.
No, sir. Can't do that.
So full preview coming up in our main event, including Doug and I making predictions that will be so much better than what we did for the last WWE pay-per-view.
Maybe we just lost it at this point.
We will see. But before we do any of that,
I think Paul needs some attention, Kevin.
Paul does not know what I am doing in his space down here in the basement. It's all right, buddy. We're just doing a wrestling show.
Maybe Oreo can hop up here and they can do the show.
You know, cats are big on the internet, so I'm sure it'll help the numbers.
Well, couldn't hurt them, that's for sure.
We'll get the Two Cats Wrestling Show going here shortly.
There we go.
That opening bell for us. Obviously, as I said, up at the top in our main event, we're previewing All in Texas, but that is not the only big event taking place next weekend. WWE's Evolution, of course, is going to be going down next Sunday night. We'll talk more about that later as far as us not being live next Sunday. We're not going to be competing against that. But there's a lot of news coming out this past week about Evolution and the turmoil as they're trying to bring this big event together very quickly and quite hectically. A part of that obviously is out of their control. It's due in large part to the domino effect of Liv Morgan, who was obviously going to be a centerpiece of the show, going down with injury. And then that large role, you take that out. People, basically the word is that they ripped up the script and they started from scratch.
Which is pretty clear, I think, but
yeah, it is very clear, which is a shame considering that it's taken 7 years to get a second Evolution, and it is coming together the way that it is. Another reason, apparently, that it is a bit of chaos backstage is that WWE is reportedly reaching out to a lot of legends, not just Brie and not just Trish, and some of those negotiations apparently have been coming down to the wire. So obviously, we will be doing a show a few weeks from now where we look at the second edition of Evolution, not just how it fared and how it performed compared to the first, but we're going to talk about why it's taken so long, 7 years, in fact, for WWE to do a follow-up on their inaugural event. We'll have all of that broken down and see if it comes together more seamlessly than it appears to at this stage, which, mind you, is only a week out. That is next Sunday that Evolution is. All right. Moving on. WWE's reality series Unreal now has a release date on Netflix. 5 episodes of the unscripted reality series will drop on the streamer here in a few weeks, July 29th to be in fact. The series promises to go behind the scenes to the writing and producing side of the business that for years has been sort of off limits to fans, and this is supposed to take folks in. The 5 episodes that drop all at once each have a very specific focus. The episodes for season 1, apparently season 2 has already been greenlit, but season 1 is going to focus on the Netflix premiere of Raw, the Royal Rumble, one on the women's roster, and this one will be interesting, one on John Cena's heel turn at Elimination Chamber is an entire episode, and then WrestleMania 41 is the final of that. Also should be interesting. So mark your calendars, July 29th could be worth watching. In conjunction with their recent Summer of the Beast event in New York City, MLW had also hosted an international summit with top executives of both New Japan Pro Wrestling and CMLL. The summit was to further strengthen what is being referred to as a strategic alliance between the three international companies. The meeting included MLW CEO Court Bauer, New Japan Chairman Naoki Sugabashi, and then the legendary I probably butchered it, but Tiger Hattori, I won't butcher. The legendary referee was part of the summit. And then Okamura of CMLL was the representative of the Mexican organization. Obviously, this move is in no small part due to WWE's acquisition of AAA. Whoever's left, it's like the old territory days fighting Vince. Whoever's left seems to be partnering up, at least working relationships with remaining separate companies. But MLW even recently brought in MJF. MJF made a surprise return to his roots of MLW, and surprise that supposedly isn't a one-off either, that he has got more dates, continuing his feud with Mystico from AEW television following Mystico to MLW. It's a good, we say it all the time. It is a very interesting and good time to be a wrestling fan, right?
It is, but a little scary to be a wrestling company because it seems that Titan is starting to gobble up everything, and everybody else is just conglomerating together for safety.
Well put. Good time to be a fan. Scary time to be a non-WWE company, or a non-WWE aligned company. I'm sure AAA is resting a lot easier than they once were. And AAA. Speaking of WWE's purchase of AAA, Octagon Jr. is the latest AAA talent to sign a WWE contract. He is no longer taking independent bookings. Also, AAA luchadora La Hedra has been telling folks that she has come to terms with WWE and is now under contract to them as well.
And I just heard today that one of the clowns is also, maybe it's Psycho Clown, is jumping from AAA over to WWE soon.
Oh, really?
He said he's also stopped taking bookings because apparently he's incredibly marketable. The one that almost has like the Gene Simmons mask with the tongue hanging out. I don't know which clown that is, but
I think that's Psycho Clown. The other one is Pagano. Who's that? Yeah. Part of the problem, right? Where you're getting a lot of new characters, all very colorful, masked, very similar. If you didn't see our show from a few weeks ago, here in the archives, check it out. We did a full deep dive into what the WWE acquisition of AAA is going to mean for all of the world of wrestling, lucha wrestling in particular. And we talk a lot about the fact that they could cherry pick, and the fact that these folks are signing contracts while still in the company that WWE owns, but signing WWE contracts. That temptation is going to be there to start moving some of these more popular characters to Raw and SmackDown. And what is that going to do for the original organization? Yeah, it's one of the red flags that we talked about, Doug, and it sounds like it could be happening to an extent already.
It's starting to happen as they cherry pick the top talent and go ahead and bring them over. It's almost like they have a lucha development now territory. Is what they have.
Yeah, it will be interesting to watch it play out. Hopefully on the glass half full side and not the glass half empty side, because there's plenty of positives from this as well. Again, go check that one out in the archives for more. Moving on, Doug, one of my favorite wrestling announcers, Ian Riccaboni, has re-upped with Tony Khan. Riccaboni took to his Blue Sky account to announce he has re-signed with AEW and will remain part of the AEW ROH broadcast teams for the foreseeable future.
I like hearing Riccaboni on commentary. It just makes me feel good to hear Riccaboni.
His sign off, it makes me feel good. Whenever I hear happy wrestling, everybody, I just I smile like a 14-year-old. I don't know why that resonates so well with me, and the fact that Riccaboni is just such a obvious fanboy and good at what he does too. He has that young JR passion that I really love. But happy that he's going to be sticking around on our broadcast for the foreseeable future. This next one is something I did not know was a thing. until I read about it. And Doug, I will watch your expression as I say it to see if you knew this was a thing. But
all right.
Jacob Fatu has released a rap track. Okay, you didn't. That features him and his uncle, Rikishi Fatu. Obviously, please, no one who is watching, continue watching us. When we're done, then you can do your search. Don't turn us off just yet. But once we're off the air, hit the YouTube search bar, search for the track "Hello," and you can hear. There you go, man. It's a thing.
It is a thing. Awesome. Is this why he's in so much trouble? Is this where he drops the N-word? Is this what's got him in trouble?
That man's been in trouble his whole life. So
I know, but I see stuff popping up today in my feed about how he's in trouble and he can't say that. And I'm like, what did he do? But
I don't
maybe
know
that's it. I don't know
the song or not, but we'll all check it out once the Two Bros Wrestling Show goes off the air. But Rikishi and Jacob Fatu rap track. There you go. It's a thing.
All right.
And then finally, congratulations are in order for WWE stars Kalani Jordan and Carmelo Hayes, the two uber talented, truthfully, two of the most athletic, young talents in all of WWE. And they are partners in life as well, or will soon be more officially as they engage this week. So congratulations to two people whose in-ring work I absolutely love.
Yes.
And wish them all the happiness in the world.
Absolutely. Happy wrestling to that couple, right?
Happy. Yeah, I don't know who I'd taken. I mean, hopefully they get along because,
right?
Any honeymoon phase being over marital spats, I would not want to get in the middle of those two very athletic individuals.
No.
All right. Main event time.
Let's do this.
All in Texas is next Saturday afternoon. An afternoon that also contains NXT's pay-per-view. A afternoon that caps off in that evening with WWE trying to cannibalize Tony Khan by going live on NBC for free with Saturday night's main event. Doug, that reminds me of the very, very old school, beginning days of our fandom, back when Starrcade was really taking off, and Vince McMahon decides, you know what, I'm going to go on my USA cable network where I have such a strong partnership, and I'm going to give away this thing I'm going to call the Royal Rumble, right? Or was it Survivor Series? No, it was the Rumble. He gave away a Rumble. Opposite what was a huge moment for Jim Crockett Promotions and really crippled them. Now, I'm not saying that is what's going to happen to Tony Khan, but man, oh man, you have your biggest ever domestic event, the most people you've ever had in a stadium in the United States, and you're going to be going up against things that, whether it's a Peacock subscription, which is practically free for folks who already have it, or truly free for anyone that can put up a pair of rabbit ears and get NBC, you got some pretty heavy competition already out of the gate. Do you think that is going to in any way affect the way that Tony Khan books the show we're getting ready to talk about?
I absolutely think it will affect the way Tony's booking the show. It'll change the lineup of the show. Well, first of all, Tony does not put on bad pay-per-views. I mean, there may be
he does not.
He always AEW always delivers on pay-per-views, especially with the talent they have on that roster. But you've got NXT, you've got main event, and then on Saturday, bloody finger, and then on Sunday you've got Evolution in the same house as the night before with main event, right? So you're stacking a lot of wrestling fandom and forcing them to make choices about where and how they spend their time this weekend. And it's
for the budget conscious. For the budget conscious, it's either $60, $69, whatever, or free on NBC to watch Goldberg retire. I mean, no doubt that Tony is going to have the better product, but he might have fewer eyeballs. And I know that Tony loves to hotshot book. It's both a blessing and a curse with the man's booking style.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that he's going to try to maybe go a little overboard or too far to try to book surprises and noteworthy moments in this to try to pull at least the wrestling press's attention away from whatever happens on the WWE side of the ledger?
Look, man, we have seen Tony live, right? At live events. We have seen the energy that this man has versus the incredibly subdued energy that he has in like these post events and most of the time when he's on TV. But I think seeing that Tony energy live is what energy he has and puts into the show, when he's in the back too. So, oh yeah, it's going to be that Tony live energy coming through in this entire pay-per-view to just knock it out of the park.
Let's talk about the opportunities he's going to have for those kind of big surprises by this very first match. Let's talk first about the matches that are impossible to predict, really. That are the Casino Gauntlet match. This is the old school WWE like style of Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and that here's everybody we couldn't get on our biggest show of the year so that everyone gets a little bit of a payday. That's essentially what these Casino Gauntlet matches are. But they are also more than just glorified like battle royals. There is stakes in this, in that the winners do receive a future title shot of either the respective men or women's championship. It is also, to the point that I started this part of the conversation with, it is, in the past at least, where Tony has booked a big return or a big defection or a large, like, oh my gosh, this person's in AEW. I had no idea. So Casino the Casino Gauntlet, the men's version, Mark Briscoe, MJF, there's 8 billion more that we don't yet know. This will be everyone who doesn't have anything better to do. But do you, Doug, see anyone in the sphere of the men's world of professional wrestling? Is there anyone nearing a return? Are there any international talent? There's really, back in the day, there was always like, who's got dumped by WWE that might show up here. But, that road has been only one way here lately, and that's been AEW to WWE. Do you see any surprises in this one, and who might that surprise be?
I don't really know, because I think Tony has really tightened the AEW belt there because he's had so many people jump back and forth recently. You have these drop-offs that leave WWE for greener pastures, and most of them left when Vince was still in charge. And they see the renaissance that's going on, up in Stanford. So they're heading back as soon as they can. And there have been so many talents that have also not, been utilized to their fullest potential. So I don't know where, I don't really know that there's any new names that would really pop up right now. Unless we have, maybe somebody like an indie star like Matt Cardona showing up, and doing a little something.
Yeah, I think that the ability, whether it's a financial ability or just the current wrestling landscape not providing Tony that ability, I don't think that there's the opportunity that there used to be to really shock fans with this particular match. Now, I do think that much like WWE has tended to do in the last few years with Royal Rumble, where you use it as a way of bringing back someone who hasn't been around a while, I do think that maybe a Adam Copeland, maybe a Darby Allin. Those are two guys who fans haven't seen in a while. That might be the closest we get to a surprise in this one.
It seems like Darby being this. Well, same with Edge, though. But I guess it depends on what they're doing with Cope or whatever he is. I guess it depends on what the story's going to be moving forward. So, but I would think that Darby especially would be more of an intervention during something involving Death Riders, fighting for, still fighting for the soul of, maybe we'll get a not Goat Boy. That's not right. Jungle Boy.
Goat Boy. We could get a Goat Boy. I mean, I've never seen Goat Boy wrestle. So,
awesome.
As far as the winner goes, these are almost impossible to predict. So, based on who we already knows in the match, it's just a couple of guys. I'm just going to say it's MJF. I mean, that's the biggest star who's going to be in this match. You get a world title shot at the end of it. It makes sense. It could be MJF. He's as reasonable a choice as anyone.
Sure. Why not? MJF. Let's go with MJ. I'm with you. MJF it is.
The women's casino gauntlet match, the only person that we currently know that is going to be in it is Chris Statlander. So I'm going to say Chris Statlander wins the women's gauntlet match because we know no one else. And unlike a Darby Allin or a Cope, or I can't think of anyone other than Britt Baker. But I don't know what you hear different stories on she's soon to be returning or she's just on the outs with the whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to go with, what's the Spider Girl? The new Tekla.
Oh, Tekla.
Tekla. Yeah. Yes.
Do you think we get do you think we get a good doctor or any returns or surprises on the women's side?
If we do, it would be, I think, Britt, because there's just so much of a question mark with her because depending on where you read, what you see, who you talk to, she's, already at the performance center. She's on her way out the door. She's, Tony's cut her off. She's sitting at home just collecting a check because she's not on TV. Yeah. There's so much going on that we don't really know what's up with the good doctor.
So that really could be a red herring kind of surprise if these rumors are just that, and they bring her back. That actually, I think, would qualify as a big pop surprise moment because it's been a while, and I think that's a card he could play if they've made nice.
Yes.
Now we'll get to the matches that we can actually predict because we know who all is in them. Let's start because this is so stacked of card with title matches.
Really?
We're going to go with a non-title match. The only non-title match actually that's currently been announced. Obviously, Tony Khan has long cards, so we have a lot of matches we're going to go through. This is still likely to only be a small portion. No surprise if 3 or 4 more get added. But let's go with the non-title match of Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay versus the Young Bucks. Now, if the Young Bucks lose, they lose their EVP titles. And then if Strickland and Ospreay lose, they cannot challenge either of them for the world title for a year. Doug, does this one smack to you a bit of, the 4 talent, it's going to be great. But considering this is all in Texas, for Will Ospreay to be in a tag team match against, the Bucks where there's no championships involved, there's stakes. But does it feel like both Swerve and Will at one point in time this year felt like they were destined for the top of this card or near the top instead of where they actually are?
It absolutely does. And just the stipulation alone kind of, in my mind anyway, telegraphs the ending here where, Swerve and Ospreay can't challenge for a world championship for a year. I just see the Bucks through shenanigans. Maybe we get to see the return of Brandon Cutler. I'm sure of it. To interfere and cause these guys a loss, and then neither one of them will be able to challenge for a year, which, depending on where we see All In next year, could be a huge pop.
All right, I'm going the opposite direction then. So you're picking the Bucks.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that even though their heel characters have been fun, they can continue to play heels without the EVP role. Let's maybe stop so much with the inside baseball. And I think just because I can't imagine Will and Swerve being kept away from the world title scene for a full year, that I think that this one goes their way, so that they can get back in the title picture in the next few months, which is surprising that they're not really more there now. I don't think that Tony Khan, with his booking style, has the patience to keep Swerve and Will away from the world title scene for 12 full months. So I think that we get the makeshift team going over one of the best teams that ever has been. And it might be the Bucks' own doing that they're trying to get overly clever, or Brandon Cutler. Something's going to backfire, and it's going to blow up in the EVP's face. That's where I'm.
All right. We should do this on every match. That way, at least one of us is right this time, because we just went way off. We were just so bad with the last PPV predictions.
Night of Champions. We predicted oftentimes people who were not even in the match, and so at least we know.
Yeah.
We're going different directions than this one. How about let's talk the Trios Championship? You have your Trios champion of the Ops, which is Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, Shibata, and they're taking on the Death Riders. It's a little tougher because the part of me wants to say that the Death Riders feel like they're getting to the end of that faction. On the other hand, the Death Riders are the challengers in this scenario. So I'm going to say for myself, this is a final gasp for the Death Riders. I don't know that this will, and we'll, not to tip my hat for the main event, but I think it'll start out well early for the Death Riders. And the makeshift team, which is really what Joe and Powerhouse and Shibata are, I think that they lose this Trios Championship to the Death Riders.
Yeah, I do too. Unless there's some shenanigans with Hook, because there's that weirdness that is there. So, but I do think, and again, not to also tip my hat because I think we're tipping in the same direction with our main event.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, I think the Death Riders maybe on their last rattle. We'll see, but I'm going with the Ops retaining.
Okay, see, that's good. All right.
Maybe we get some shenanigans from Hook, whose alliances have changed, but still, it doesn't stop the Ops from retaining.
Now, I know that thus far, other than the gauntlet matches, which are hard to predict, we have picked opposite sides on each match. I don't know that we will on this next one.
Okay.
We have the AEW TNT Championship, and this was just made last night on Collision. And which, as an aside, it's a little surprising how many of these matches are coming together a week out. Like, they're definitely pulling a card together in a scramble. But with the TNT Championship, Adam Cole is defending against Kyle Fletcher, and Paul is picking. Yeah, okay, Paul.
I'm pretty sure he's saying Kyle. Kyle.
I think it's Kyle, and I gotta agree with Paul on this one.
Me too, actually. Yeah.
Love Adam Cole, baby. But I mean, Kyle Fletcher, it's kind of his time, and this is a good stepping stone. And I hate to use Adam Cole as anyone's stepping stone, but I do believe that the TNT Championship is just a stepping stone for a huge future for Kyle Fletcher. It's obvious that AEW is very high on him. The talent is off the charts. The matches he has great, and which is why this will be a great match. Cole Fletcher, great match, but Fletcher's time.
Fletcher's time. Agreed. This is where we start botching all the calls now.
Yeah, because
we're getting lockstep now.
This next one is another example of the scramble, because it was a tag team championship match that was one team against one team, and then last night it was expanded to include now a third team. So what we have are the AEW tag team championships. The Hurt Syndicate defending those titles now, not just against Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight, but also the Patriarchy. Doug, I would have said with a one-on-one match between the Hurt Syndicate and Speedball and Kevin that it'd be a valiant fight by the underdog faces, and the Hurt Syndicate was coming out on top. When they add a third element like the Patriarchy into things, you have the whole opportunity for the champions to lose without really losing. And it always makes me wonder, from the booking perspective, was this done in order to give someone an out or to move titles off without hurting the Hurt Syndicate? What say you?
That's what I'm looking at. I'm seeing Speedball Mike Bailey getting the pin over Nick Wayne and the Hurt Syndicate losing their titles that way.
I was going to go Hurt Syndicate, but that makes a lot of sense. I think even with the three-way that there's a chance they pull it off. But this is the big event, right? This is let's send the folks home happy. We're starting our new season. So having a Mike Bailey and a Kevin Knight win over an established team, I don't think the Hurt Syndicate are getting pinned, but I do agree they might lose their championship.
I think that's why you include Nick Wayne in all this to give He's like the Wheeler Yuta in this situation. He's taking the pin here.
And don't we have to also end up having some sort of blow up that we've been building towards where Nick Wayne just has enough of Christian Cage and that?
Absolutely.
So you could kill two birds with one stone here by having Mike Bailey, actually three birds, because Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight are two uber talented young folks who could probably use the bump of the titles. And the Hurt Syndicate will not be hurt by any of this. And then the Patriarchy is there to take the pin, so the Hurt Syndicate doesn't have to be hurt by it. And you can have Christian Cage blaming Nick Wayne for their loss. So you really can accomplish three storyline things with that one booking decision.
Yeah, it's economy storytelling at its finest there.
We're going to be in agreement on that one. That's a couple in a row now.
Yep.
This next one is a dream match. And when I say it's a dream match, for those who's already seen it, if you've watched any of their matches from New Japan, you're seeing something that we've not had the privilege of seeing under the AEW banner yet, but that everyone has waited for and wanted, and that is the what is going to be a unification match between Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada. The International Championship and the Continental Championship is going to be combined. And I guess maybe to start, before I even give my prediction, can I just say that I am all supportive of AEW rolling up as many titles as they possibly can into unifications, because Tony Khan has too many belts going around.
Yeah, it is a lot to keep up with. So this would have been a dream match. I mean, it has been a dream match in the past, but to me, I'm wondering, do these guys rise to the level that they have in the past? Is this going to be a 7-star match? I don't think it's going to be. It's going to be a great match, yes, and I want to be wrong about this, but I don't know that at this point, especially in Kenny Omega's career with the diverticulitis and all that, and he's shaking up his style a bit, and Okada seems to just be doing like his chaos made up in Stamford, just kind of slumming in America and just kind of getting by. So I don't know. Yeah, they've got it in them, I'm sure, but I don't know that we're going to get that quality match that we were expecting. It's kind of like when AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura went head to head in WWE. It wasn't that magic that there was. Yeah, that there was in New Japan. And I'm wondering if we get the same thing here at this point.
So we may not end up disagreeing on who wins, but I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think that while it may be a step down from what, well, obviously there's nowhere to go but down compared to their, Wrestle Kingdom matches. But I think this one is going to roll back the clock a little bit. I'm more worried about Omega, honestly. Okada showed just this last week with Ibushi that with the right opponent, like that was a great match. I think on a big stage with Kenny Omega, I think Okada has it in him. Now, Omega in his brief return, we've yet to see that same Kenny Omega. But I think that there's a possibility we get somewhere close. If we don't get the 5-star, we get the 4-star with this one.
Yeah, I want to be wrong, but I don't know that the cleaner can bring it like he once did. And, we'll see. We'll see. So we haven't called who's taking it all home, though.
I think that based on what I believe will happen with the other matches at the top of the card, that for some balance between we have to let some heels win a few of these, I think Kenny Omega's injury and his diverticulitis and his big heroic comeback from injury is going to come up just an inch short. And Okada's going to pull the rug out from underneath him and disappoint a lot of people in Texas Stadium.
And it's going to be really good storytelling too, because you also have the announce team working that whole angle that you just set up there too. So I can totally see it going that way.
You 2 votes for Okada?
Yeah.
Now we're to the main matches, the big ones of the night, the ones that have had a little more thought put in them than some of these others that, as we have admitted, like, were made last night on Collision. These have been long-form stories going here, and that is, first of all, Tony Storm is going to be in the women's championship match against Mercedes Monet, like eight belts Monet. I don't know, whatever she is now. Like, it's a ridiculous number of championships. Tony obviously is hugely over with the crowd. Did everything she was supposed to do to make a star out of Mariah May, even as Mariah was on her way out. I think this is Tony's receipt. I think that she's the one who's going. I mean, Mercedes isn't going to miss one of those titles. I think that Mercedes gets her comeuppance. She's yet to lose a singles match in AEW. I think all of that is kind of time. And if you're going to pull the trigger on something like that you've not yet done, why wouldn't you do it at your biggest show?
Yeah, I just see. I think I just said this like when we were talking about the last pay-per-view, but you don't put this belt back on her just to take it away from her that quickly. I think that Tony has the long run here, and even if the thought at one point was to give Mercedes this belt to make it 9, 10, whatever belts it is, I think that's shifted quite a bit, knowing that she's probably going to eventually split and go back to WWE when her run's over too. So I think Tony's a bit more not Storm, is a bit more cautious about that booking. And Tony is going to go over here and keep her championship and keep on trucking. Maybe it starts a good rivalry.
I think I made a mistake of misspeaking and saying that she was taking the title. Tony is retaining her title.
Yes.
Mercedes is the one who is not. I think Mercedes is going to start losing. I think this will, storyline wise, start a spiral. She'll take her first loss, and you have to start pulling belts off of her. So wouldn't surprise me if this starts a downward spiral of a losing streak and honestly a frustrated heel. Mercedes Monet is actually my favorite version of Mercedes Monet anyway. When she, even more so than the cocky boss, I love it when her back's against the wall and she's desperate. It's time for the air to come out of the balloon, and it starts with being taken out at the biggest event AEW has ever had.
Yes, I totally agree with this. It's really Tony's time because she is the female John Moxley in this organization at this point. Like you said, she steps up, she does what she needs to do. She is an AEW soldier through and through. I did not mean to rhyme all that.
No, but you set us up too with a great segue, because that does bring us to the John Moxley of John Moxley's, the men's AEW championship, and. Surprise, surprise, it is now a Texas death match. Who saw that coming other than everybody who's ever watched the John Moxley match? But let's be honest. A John Moxley versus Hangman Page match for the World Championship is decidedly more interesting under Texas death match rules than it would be just normal match. John Moxley is who he is. That is the style that he excels at. If you're going to do the big match on the big stage at your biggest event of the year, if they're ever, I know we sometimes maybe criticize Tony Khan for always going to the blood and guts, maybe too much. He does. But if you're going to pull that lever, these are the two men to pull it with, and this is the time that you do it. It would actually mean more had he not done it 8 billion times on the road to here. But this should be chaos. This should be glass. This should be light bulbs and tacks and tables and
staples
forks and cheese graters and I mean that it should be. Otherwise, I think fans will probably be disappointed, because that's what you're going to expect from Hangman Page, John Moxley. And Hangman has shown he could go just as hard as he's shown in Swerve Strickland's feud with Hangman. Hangman can go hardcore, toe for toe with John Moxley. These two are going to bleed buckets. That I think we can both agree on.
Yes, they are. And I've been not necessarily harsh on Hangman before, but I think I've always thought of Hangman as like the lesser of the elite, and there's no knock against Hangman, but you got Kenny Omega, you got the Bucks, you got Hangman. Well, okay. At one point, Cody was in there for a little while, but Cody doesn't count. But Hangman has been, almost that forgotten. He's like the Ringo of the Elite. But yeah, Hangman, like Ringo, is awesome at his craft. Is a excellent professional, and has really shown that with like this evolution of the character
Yeah.
and the promos he's been cutting, and just building up to this heroic return to a tweener Hangman, where he's the good guy, but he's the no nonsense good guy that's going to do what needs to be done. I really wonder if at the end of this, when I'm going to call it, Hangman takes that belt, Mox goes, okay, now there's somebody I feel finally comfortable with, who this is what I've been wanting all along. This is what I needed. This is why I did all this. Here's the belt. I'm going to take a break.
I am so glad that you mentioned that the two of us actually once on this show were breaking down the Elite when around the time they re-signed their contracts, and we both said that same thing about Hangman seeming like not necessarily of the level of the others, at least to us. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought it up, because I honestly feel that isn't the case for me anymore. The evolution of the character that you talked about this last year, I think that Hangman Page has really elevated his game. And I will give a lot of credit to the feud he had with MJF, the feud that he had, especially with Swerve Strickland, the matches he had with Joe. Like, he has done a lot on his own to really prove us wrong, to prove anyone who ever doubted him as being just another guy in the faction, not the main guys, just the backup character. He's no one's backup character. He is the guy. And the fact that they gave that Owen Hart championship or that Owen Hart tournament victory to him over arguably the guy of the whole organization, Will Ospreay right now, that shows, I think, the tip of the hat as to where they're going with this. It's Texas. It's the Texas boy. It's the Hangman coming in, riding his white horse now. And they will eat it up. And it is time for John to go away. And that is what you hear is a rumor that is going to happen, is he's getting some well-deserved time off. He'll probably need even more time off after what he does to his body on Saturday. Both these men. But Hangman is your new champion. And I think, especially if John does take some time off, the Death Rider's not manipulating in a bad way, but I think fresh matchups await a Hangman Page, as opposed to Mox, who has carried, admirably the company in that title for a while. But especially if we don't have them lose to the Bucks, you have Ospreay and Strickland both as obvious top contenders for a Hangman Page, both with some history with him. Swerve, especially, you got MJF back in the picture, especially if he wins the gauntlet, which I think there's a good chance he does. There's just a lot of really fresh matchups. I'm excited about a title change. I think it is time. No offense to Mox, but it's time. And we're going to agree on more than we disagreed on, but this is one where you have the Texas flag waving at the end. It's too good of a. This is Tony Khan's version of Cody finishing the story at Mania. This is your big event.
Yeah.
This is what he's built Hangman for, is to come out on top against all odds.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there is the long-term storytelling here, the character development, and whatever thoughts I had about Hangman in the past are absolutely wrong. He is that guy. Like you said, he is the guy. He's about to be crowned the guy next weekend. So
weekend. And that is what we say will happen next Saturday afternoon. Will we be right or not? That is left.
Who knows?
And you can come back and join us on the next episode of the Two Bros Wrestling Show, where we review everything that goes down, what we liked, what we didn't like, and we'll see how right or wrong we are. That show, by the way, will be on Monday, but more about that at the end of our broadcast. Right now, we're hitting that big finish. Doug, botch of the week.
I lost my notes, but I'll just ramble. So, botch of the week is, I'm calling out WWE for their botch, because I think they have completely botched the run up to Evolution. I think they've done the female talent a huge disservice with Evolution. It seems like it was hastily put together at the last minute to just, flood a weekend to really counter program Tony Khan on a day he's not even on, but additional counter programming, because like we talked about at the top of the show, I think that takes more eyes away, because again, do they want to watch it for free, stuff for free, or nearly free on Peacock, or do they want to drop $60 for some wrestling for a few hours on Saturday?
Three major WWE shows. Three, not just one.
Yes.
They're tripling down on Tony Khan's neck next weekend.
And then because correct me if I'm wrong here, but aren't we seeing Evolution in the same arena that we're seeing Saturday Night's Main Event in the night before? Yeah. So now you're asking local fans to throw more money at like a WrestleMania type event, because you've got 2 nights of WWE programming, although they did pare it down to what I think the arena holds like 10,000-15,000, but for Evolution they clearly knew that there was going to be the draw that like Saturday Night's Main Event was, so they only have room for about 6,000 seats, and it sounds like sales are really poor, or at least not the best. Maybe half those seats, maybe a little bit more, maybe around 4,000 have actually been sold. So you're asking a lot of wrestling fans in the local market there. You're asking a lot of wrestling fans to look away from, keep those eyes on us. We're cheaper, just don't even give your money to Tony. And it just seems hastily thrown together. And then letting the champions, pick somebody. I don't like that either. It's just a mishmash of things. And I just don't like the way the girls are being treated.
So my botch of the week, I'm also calling out WWE. Maybe maybe this is Tony Khan's good week to be in our good graces because of All In coming up. But last week we covered Night of Champions with our review of CM Punk headlining in a country that he once berated. He berated WWE. He especially berated The Miz for going to in the past. And then what we didn't talk about, though, last week was the kickoff show and Punk's apology. And that apology took the form of Punk addressing a fan off camera during the kickoff.
Totally not a plan.
Apologizing to him, then using that as a springboard to apologize to The Miz and then to all of Saudi Arabia. My botch isn't for the idea of apologies or forgiveness or, admitting, hey, I was wrong about something. No, My botch is just how contrived it all was. Punk's comments weren't off the cuff and probably therefore not even sincere. The reported plan supposedly all along was for Punk to go to Saudi Arabia and apologize. Also part of this PR plan was the post-show comments made by Triple H when he was asked about Punk in Saudi and responded by talking about Punk's growth as a human being, how he's evolved as a person. This is the narrative that WWE wants to weave about their version of Punk in 2025, as opposed to the perception Punk had from his first time around in WWE, and especially his reputation in AEW. So the narrative is Punk is sorry for everything. He has grown. He's a new man. We're talking about a guy pushing 50. This isn't a kid, so I'm all about forgiveness. I actually think Punk has been entertaining. I think that it's fine for us to all move on from everything in Punk's past because I kind of want to also, but don't force feed it to me with this contrived narrative of a planted fan so that CM Punk can be a hypocrite, which he is a hypocrite, but a contrived apology and then have the boss double down in the post show by weaving this false narrative of how CM Punk has grown. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. Maybe he truly is sorry for what he said in the past. Maybe he just wants the money and he's a hypocrite. Whatever it is, just let it be whatever it is, and don't try to force a off-screen narrative of CM Punk apologizing, going to Saudi Arabia, but he's not a hypocrite. He's just growing as a person. I didn't like anything about how they handled that at all.
Yeah.
Too contrived for my taste.
I agree totally. Totally. The whole thing is ridiculous. And I really wonder, especially with the segment the night before where he comes out in this punkonomics nonsense and goes down. I really wonder if Triple H is just punking him sometimes now, paying. I don't. Maybe it was Stevie Richards where I saw he was talking about paying for. He's being paid for his misery at this point. Yeah, he's getting compensated very well, but he's having to jump through a whole bunch of corporate hoops now, and basically they're paying him for his misery. So it's kind of interesting to me that the things that he's willing to do, because I don't see 2014 Punk coming out and doing a rap in the Thugonomics style.
No. And as good as everything was with the reverse pipe bomb from John Cena, the Punkonomics bit, we didn't talk about it last week. The Punkonomics bit was a bit cringe, honestly.
It was terrible. I mean, Cena crushed him, and then the reply was Punkonomics.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's two botches for the price of one there.
Yeah, really.
Performance of the week, Doug.
Man, I was going to go with Hangman, especially the stuff that he has been doing lately leading up to this, until I heard a news story today. I don't know if it came out this weekend, but I heard about it today, so I'm calling out Christopher Daniels as the performer of the week, the performance of the week, because I did not know this. Maybe you did, but that damaged eye that he had, and it took almost 2 years for it to clear up. Complete work. A complete work. He was living the gimmick for like 18, 24 months, something like that. Almost 2 years he lived the gimmick. Apparently he when he first got it, he got a black eye and it was a little bit bloodshot, and then it did kind of like cover the whole eye and discolor his entire eye. And he was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I wonder how I can keep this. And within 3 or 4 days, it cleared up. So he apparently goes to Abaddon and says, hey, you make use of a lot of contacts. You got a guy who could do something like this? She hooks him up. He starts wearing the contact, wears it for like even out in public, to the point where he had like, what is it? Is Stephen Amell's the Arrow and the Shield guy, right? Yeah. So Stephen Amell sees him and he's like, oh, hey, how's your eye? And he's like, dude, it's fake. It's a work.
I did not know that. No, I didn't know that. Wow.
So Christopher Daniels, CD, being the massive, awesome person that he is, keeping the gimmick alive, living the gimmick for almost 2 years.
Kudos to you, man. Yeah, because I legitimately thought that was part of the reason why he was hanging it up. It was time, but he also, had that injury to deal with. He probably just knew it was time, and he timed it all that way just to
make it all work.
Folks over on make it all work. Man, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going completely different from my performance of the week because normally I don't call out corporate synergy and branding, but my performance of the week is for the fact that Evolution is sponsored by Maybelline, because I think that seriously, if you're wanting to make parity between the men and women's division, how many more commercials for dude wipes do we need anyway?
Fair.
Yeah, we have to put up with dude wipes. Let's make let's give the ladies some, and Maybelline sponsoring a female empowerment. Now the booking, as we just talked, that leaves something to be desired. But as far as the sponsorship goes, that one is on the money, and actually, I think a positive step in the direction of bringing more women into the fandom of pro wrestling.
All right, that's cool.
Match of the week, Doug.
So, I really wanted to pull an AEW match for this, but SmackDown had what I thought was just an amazing match with Fraxium and Andrade and Rey Fenix, who they need a name. I didn't necessarily like this team up at first, because it's like, no, if Phoenix is going to be wrestling in tag teams, it needs to be with his brother. But I'm much cooler with not having the Lucha Bros right now and having, Andrade and Phoenix, and just this, and what an amazing way to just, I love that floppy high flying zoomy zaggy stuff, and they totally delivered on that with a bunch of near falls and just insaneness that I just couldn't get enough of that. So that's my match of the week.
those four guys are a video game. They really are. They're like a video
Really?
game with everyone hitting all the combinations right. Like it makes
Yes.
no sense the speed to which those guys can go. They did put on a great match. My match of the week, I am going AEW. Although I got a runner up, I want to tell you also. So I'm going to get another 2-for-1. But I referenced this match earlier. I did think that Okada versus Ibushi was fantastic, and gave me a lot of hope that Okada is still Okada when he wants to be. Ibushi looked great as well. I also think it's, again, such a great time to be a wrestling fan, because here we are on American television in an American main event on Wednesday nights. We're watching a match that previously we would either be watching in the middle of the night, watching on delay, watching from someone's friend on a tape library, like, someone passing around a thumb drive, or like we saw Okada versus Ibushi, and I thought it was great. My runner-up, though, I wanted to give a shout-out because of the summer special that TNA is running, where they're showing their stuff on YouTube. I've been watching a little TNA, and I have to give a call-out to Masa Slamovich and Killer Kelly for having a amazing chain match on this past week's Impact. The women's division, Slamovich is great, by the way, but the women's division is just really stacked in TNA, and TNA is just doing some really interesting things in general. That match was, at the end, we got a run in from your NXT women's champion, so that synergies is still at play there too. It was just well done all the way around. So go out of your way to see it if you didn't. But definitely, if you're going to see one from me, go see Okada versus Ibushi. Doug is not wrong either, though. That tag match from SmackDown, also worth checking out.
And really, Okada Ibushi was mine until SmackDown. It was like, okay, this edges it out for me just by about this much.
So you have a lot of wrestling next weekend, folks.
Yeah.
You got four big events. But those three matches we just named, you will not go wrong if you see any of those to prep you for next weekend. As far as us, Doug, we are not going to compete against the multitude of pay-per-views next week. We will have a special Monday show. So we are back with you on the 14th of July, and we will be Raw on Netflix. So you can pregame with us, and we will give you our rundown of everything big that happened over the weekend, our best matches, our everything, and especially focused on a review of All In 25. Until then,
there you go. Get some rest, and then go watch some wrestling, everybody, because it's going to be a big week.
Big week.
Thanks for watching.